everyone, it's Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. I am so excited to be back here. It has been so long since what was it? The first week of December since I've had my last live stream. And I apologize for last week's live stream getting canceled. You can tell I haven't done this for a while. Hold on one second. I apologize for last week's live stream getting canceled. You can tell I haven't done this for a while. Hold on one. My 18-year-old son should be here with me because he would be like, Mom, you're such a dork, you forgot to turn your volume down again. But anyway, yeah, now I remembered. So, hi, Sindel. Is that how you say your name, Sindel or Sindel? Nice to have you here. I apologize for having to cancel last week's live stream. I had planned on doing it, but then my mother-in-law invited us over, and we had never gotten there for Christmas, so we had to do it. The kids need to see their grandparents, so that's where we were last week. But hi, everyone. I'm so glad to see you here. I see Dawn here, Cecilia, Jenny. I'm happy that you're all here. I've got like a really different topic today, and I know that Super Soldier Right, how are you? I've got a bit of a different topic today. The first pronunciation, Sindel. Most people don't get it right the first time. I'm not always that lucky. But anyway, I know it has been a while. Oh my gosh. But I've been wanting to cover this topic for a while. And that is basically the religion of the schools. And, you know, it's not so much a homeschooling topic, but it's something that I think that we parents really need to discuss, whether our kids are in school or whether they are not in school. It's something that we really need to be aware of, especially those of us who are Christian or who have religious beliefs. Because the fact is that we parents have been under the impression all of this time that there is no like school-sponsored religion. And if you actually look into it, that's not the case at all. There is a school-sponsored religion. It has been in place for at least since the era of John Dewey, possibly before that. And the fact is that the schools do embrace a religion that is called secular humanism. And I know that there are a lot of people who will say that secular humanism is not a religion. But the thing is that, hi, Elizabeth, how are you? Hi, Tilly. If I've missed any of you, I'm sorry. Secular humanism is basically, I'm going to read the definition to you right now. I have this here. Humanism with regard in particular to the belief that humanity is capable of morality and self-fulfillment without belief in God. And so on the surface, that doesn't seem like a big deal. And again, a lot of secular humanists will tell you that it is not a religion. But it is a religion. I believe it was in the 1960s. They actually went to the Supreme Court so that they could file for tax-exempt status as a religion. And there are even books called, I believe, the religion of secular humanism. So secular humanism is definitely a religion. Not all religions require a belief in God. It just requires faith in something. And faith, and it takes a lot of faith in secular humanists. It almost reminds me of the whole do what thou wilt aspect. You know, just do what you want. As long as you're doing whatever you want, everything is okay. And again, it doesn't sound bad on the surface, but this is something that is embracing so many aspects of the school system, and they have been in place since the beginning. And indeed, John Dewey, if you've ever heard of him, he's major in the school setting. People who have become teachers, they have probably done lots of reading on John Dewey, and he is basically, I think he might be known as the father of the common school. Big deal in the implementation of schools as they are today. He was actually a key signer of the Humanist Manifesto. John Dewey was a key signer in that. And he was not shy about just talking about his belief that schools were there to basically get kids away from under the influence of the church and their families. And I actually found this really great website today. It has tons of quotes, not just from John Dewey, but from a bunch of other people regarding this aspect of the public education system, not just the whole secular humanist aspect, but the whole nefariousness of the entire thing. And so I'm not going to go through all of the quotes with you today, but I just wanted to read you one that I found. I actually had read it before, by John Dewey. And this is something that a lot of people don't know when it comes to him. They know that he had a lot to do, with schools. And so a lot of people will read his work. And, I'll admit, I was pulled in by John Dewey at first because he said a lot of things that I agreed with when it came to learning. But if you look, there is an agenda behind this. And one quote by him that I actually found here that says, he was talking about statist schools in Soviet Russia. He said, statist schools in Soviet Russia are the marvelous development of progressional educational ideas and practices under the fostering care of the Bolshevist government. The required collective and cooperative mentality. The great task of the school is to counteract and transform those domestic and neighborhood tendencies, the influence of home and church. There is another author, Charles F. Potter, and he actually wrote, education is thus a most powerful ally of humanism, and every American public school is a school of humanism. What can the theistic Sunday schools, meeting for an hour once a week, teaching only a fraction of the children, do to stem the tide of a 5-day program of humanistic teaching? And I think that there are so many other quotes, and I actually linked it in the description box below if you wanted to take a look for yourself at some of the other quotes that are there, because a lot of the quotes are really long, and like I said, there's pretty many of them. But the fact is that a lot of the things that our children are being taught in school and have been being taught in school, they are all foundational to the secular humanist philosophy, which again is a religion. So there is no separation of church and state. There is a school-sponsored religion. That is where evolution comes from. That is like a big tenet of secular humanism, is evolution. And so what has really happened, and I've seen it happening more and more over the years, but I believe that it's always been in place, is that there has almost seemed to be like they're trying to replace God in schools with science. And I've been seeing that more and more often. And the fact is that science is a fantastic thing, but there are a lot of things that are now taught in schools that they do not have any they have not been able to completely prove a lot of the things that they're teaching in schools, yet they are teaching these kids that you cannot question these things at all. And there was a scientist, his name was Richard Feynman, and I don't know the exact quote, and I should have thought of looking it up before I actually started this whole thing. But Richard Feynman basically said that there is no such thing as settled science. Science is never settled, because tomorrow someone might prove that aspect of science wrong. So you should never consider any one area of science to be settled. And that is something that a lot of scientists have followed over the years. But we've come to the point now in schools where there are things that they are literally not allowed to be questioned anymore. And I brought up evolution, and that is just one of many things that kids are being taught to believe in these things more or less through faith. And a lot of times they're given faulty information to support this background. For example, back to evolution again, because that's like the big issue, the one that most people know about. Years ago, I'm not good with dates, but I can tell you that there was a man named Ernst Haeckel, and he was famous for these drawings that he did of embryos. He claims that he studied the embryos of humans and different kinds of animals, all at like the same stage of development, and he found that all of the embryos basically look the same. So he was saying that we all come from the same place, since all of these embryos are the same. And so that's what he did. He sketched what he said were the embryos. He sketched them all out. Started putting these things in biology books. This was known as like some huge breakthrough. That, oh, well, see, we told you, we all come from the same place. We all start out looking the same. Only it turned out that his drawings were faked. Those embryos were not like what he actually saw, because someone actually went back. Someone else who was also an evolutionist went back, and he went through it, and he said, no, loud car. Anyway, so what this other evolutionist realized was that these drawings were fake. The embryos do not look the same at different stages of development. But can I tell you something? Ernst Haeckel's drawings, even though they were proven to be false decades ago, still show up in some biology books. In fact, I know a biology teacher, and he had no idea that those drawings were proven to be. So that is just one aspect that I think that as parents, you really need to start watching out for this stuff, because you very often will be told one thing and you won't realize, though, that you are being deceived. And that is exactly what is happening when it comes to these sorts of things. I don't know if anyone has any comments. And I forgot to mention that I'm not going to be able to be on for an hour probably tonight, just because I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, let me just see if anyone has any comments. Sindel Jones said secular humanism is absolutely a religion. It is, and they will try to say all the time that it's not. But the sheer fact that they applied for tax-exempt status as a religion, well, that throws that right out the window. And again, that is what they are teaching in public schools. And they won't tell kids, oh, this is secular humanism that they're teaching you. Of course, they're not going to tell kids that, but they are teaching the tenets of it. And the things that are being ground into these kids while they are in school are all foundational to it. And again, this was, if you would go look on that website that I linked to, this isn't just John Dewey. This was just planned this way. And I think there is actually a quote on that website that is saying what I said about science. They are trying to take God out of the schools and replace God with science. And the fact is that true science is not a God. True science is something that God gave to us so that we can discover things about the world. But when you actually start to worship science and to refuse to believe that everything is up for debate, if you start to refuse to believe that, that is when you really move from science into scientism. And that is where I think we are at a lot. If you just look at the videos and the documentaries and all of these supposed science things that you see on TV, it's scientism. And there is such a huge difference. And I think that it's really important to be aware of that. There's no such thing as settled science. And especially for these big things, even like the Big Bang. They're always telling us the Big Bang, that's definitely how the world began. They don't know that. That is a theory. That is a nice theory that they came up with to explain how things started, but they don't know. That is, again, that is just speculation. But again, it is something else that is taught as fact. And it's something that you really need to be aware of, because these are the things that your kids, if they are in school, now if you're homeschooling them, that's a completely different story. But if your kids are in school, or if you know people whose kids are in school, this is what they're being told. They're at this school at least 6 hours a day, sometimes 7 hours a day. They are there 5 days a week. And this is what they are being told. So what do you think they're going to start to believe after a while? And the thing is that I don't believe that you should force kids to believe anything. I think that, and you know what, I can be passionate about the things that I believe in, but I think that when it comes down to it, you just have to learn to give kids the evidence one way and the other way. And again, what I always say, help your kids to know how to research things. And hopefully they will have the curiosity to do it. Kids need to know how to look into things for themselves and weigh the evidence. And indeed, I'm going to tell you that Google and other places nowadays, they don't make that so easy anymore. They've fallen into the scientism trap, and they will put all of these more propaganda style facts at the top of their search lists. So it's really at the point where, and even on YouTube, so it's at the point where you have to start teaching your kids to sift through the propaganda, which is hard. Even as an adult, it's hard. And it's sad that we're at this point. But I think it's so important that we as parents start to do that. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the comments. Let me see. Dewey Decimal System. I'm not sure. Was the Dewey Decimal System after John Dewey? John Dewey, he's known as the father of common school. He was a philosopher, and he really had a lot of influence in the way that schooling was implemented. And again, he was very, I don't know how to put it. He didn't come right out and say a lot of these things bluntly, like, how I like to be blunt about everything. he was very, I don't want to, well, kind of deceptive. There was always something underlying what he was talking about. And I was pulled into John Dewey. A lot of the things that he said sounded really good to me. But when I started looking into the things that he truly believed and the things that he really wanted to implement, it's not what we think. So, Karasu the Dreamer, hi, how are you? Okay, so Jamie said, I used to teach elementary 5th grade math. In college, we studied a lot about him. In college, that presented him as if he were a superhero. Yeah, and that is actually what he is presented as most of the time. Actually, when I Googled him before I came on here, I had to sift through 3 pages of nothing but accolades about him. 3 pages of accolades about John Dewey. And then finally on the 4th page, I started getting into some of the more controversial things that he discussed. And that's going right back into the fact that we are at a point in history where the propaganda is immense. It's enormous, and it's coming from everywhere. And so that is one thing that I tell a lot of people when they're researching things. I tell my kids the same thing. If you are looking into something that you would like to know 2 sides of the story, don't just rely on those things that are at the top of Google or at the top of YouTube, because very often those other viewpoints that often have very, very good, what's the word I'm looking for? They have a good point of view. They have good reasoning. They will be pushed down to the bottom. That is exactly what happened with John Dewey. Now, luckily, I happened to read through John Taylor Gatto and so many other books that I have read about these beliefs of John Dewey. So I already knew that he had said these things. I already knew about these beliefs that he had. So I knew to keep sifting through. But somebody who doesn't know that about him, somebody who was just told, oh, well, just go look up John Dewey. Well, they'll look up John Dewey and they'll find like all this fantastic stuff about him. Oh, he was great. Oh, schools are what they are today because of him. And, they'll just see all kinds of good stuff. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're very, very likely not to find it, because most people don't think to keep sifting through all those pages, but that is really what it has come down to. If you want truth, you have to sift through and find it yourself. So, Melvin Dewey. Thank you, Cecilia. I wasn't sure. Filling with wonder. How are you doing? So anyway, that is why I wanted to talk about it so much today, because I know that there are a lot of people, especially in the Christian community, that send their kids to school to be salt and light. They want their kids to be the light of Christ for others. But I don't think that they understand that they are not sending their children into a religion-free or a religion-neutral zone. Their children are being taught a religion. And again, not right up front. They're not going to give them like a humanist manifesto and say, here it is. They're being taught the tenets of this religion, and it is something that parents don't know about it. And again, it's something that you really have to dig deep to find these things out. Thank you. Film with Wonder is applauding. Hey, thank you. I would love to know if you guys have looked into if you've looked into any of this, what your thoughts are about this, if you have any questions about it. I don't know everything. It's just something that I felt was alarming enough, or at least something that we need to bring up and let people know. Again, just going back to the whole salt and light aspect, you've got to know what you're putting kids into. And I understand it's very honorable that you want your children to show the light of Christ to others. It really is. But the fact is that you're pretty much putting them in enemy territory when you're putting them in school. Not to say anything against the teachers. I'm not going to say, oh, these teachers are terrible and they're doing this on purpose. No, there are a lot of fantastic teachers who, again, were fed the whole John Dewey is great thing all throughout college. And again, 2 of my very good friends who are retired teachers now, they're Christians. And when they were teaching my kids, when my kids were in school, I was not yet a Christian, but I used to call them the light of the school. I had no idea that they were Christians. I myself was not a Christian. And it's so weird that I used to call those 2 teachers the light of the school, because they tried so hard to change the way that things were. But the thing is you can't change things. So I'm not ever going to come down on teachers and say that they are all a part of this nefarious behavior, because that is not the case. It is the system itself that is broken. Jamie Shaw said the documentary The Creepy Line talks about how Google, YouTube, etc. talks about how a handful of people at Google put the liberal propaganda at the top of the Google search results. They do, and they've been caught saying that they've done it. Does anybody follow Veritas? I don't know if you have. For some reason, I think that Veritas might have been one of the places that was undercover and caught. I think it was Google admitting that they do that sort of thing. Don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, yeah, that is something that is definitely happening. And it's the whole propaganda thing. And, you could start saying, oh, well, this is all conspiracy theories and things like that. But, the term conspiracy theory was coined by the CIA. It was coined by the CIA so that people would start writing off things that people were saying. Oh, they're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. So that is why they did that, because they didn't want people listening to them. And I think I actually talked about this in one of my other videos with special needs kids, where those kids like with ADHD and everything who can't control, what they're saying as much as other kids can. A lot of times they'll just come out and say things how it is. And they're ridiculed. They're made, they're made fun of, and the teachers kind of put them down so that other kids don't start paying attention to what these kids are saying. That is exactly what has happened with that. If you look into the history of conspiracy theories, it was once considered a conspiracy theory that smoking caused cancer. They used to call that a conspiracy theory. So I think that you just have to really watch out, just have discernment when you're looking at things, because obviously you cannot believe every single thing that you read, every single thing that you hear. You have to look for evidence. You have to look for genuine evidence. But the sad part about it, which I have been saying now, is that evidence very often is being pushed to the bottom so that those who don't really, really, really want to dig, they're never going to find it. Let me see. Karasu, I think it's really unfair to label all liberals as extremists. I don't group all conservatives as bigots. There's good and bad people on both sides. Yes, that's absolutely true. And you know what? It's not even, somebody was even saying the other day that they don't even like to equate the term liberal with leftist anymore, because a lot of times they're literally not the same thing anymore. And just like, all conservatives are not like way far right extremists either. There are people who are just, who have their tendencies, who have their beliefs, but are also reasonable. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And I wouldn't call them extremists. Well, I don't know if I would call Google extremists because they're doing a lot of propaganda. But anyway, Tilly P said, I think it was Charlotte Iserbit who said, yes, it's a conspiracy, but it's not a theory. It's a fact. Yes, you're right. I have seen that. I wish I could have thought of it. I wish I could have thought of that. That's why it's so good that you guys are here with me, because you keep me on my toes. You're so knowledgeable. I learn so much from you all the time. And that's why I miss doing this every week with you, because you always had like the wheels turning in my head, always had me thinking. And yeah, just at this point in time, I'm not going to be able to do it every week. It's been absolutely crazy. But anyway, I just want to thank you guys, because yeah, you do. You always say the most awesome things when you're here. So, anyway, Karasu the Dreamer, I hope you didn't think that I was calling all of them extremists. I was basically talking about Google and YouTube and everything, and just the way that they're concealing the truth about a lot of things. And so watch, this will probably get censored now. You won't see this video like tomorrow, or I'm bound to get shut off, but maybe not, because I'm small enough they probably don't care about me. But anyway, that's how it is. And we're just living at this point of censorship, and it's awful. But anyway, getting back to the schools, do any of you have anything to say, anything to add to this? Because I really didn't plan out like this really long video today, just because I knew that I probably would not be on for the whole hour, because again, I have to get up at 4. I have to run my husband to work. We only have one car, so I have to run him to work. And then, because I have to take my son somewhere. Anyway, so I'm not going to get much sleep again tonight. I am not a morning person. I'm going to be so miserable tomorrow. But anyway, Fill In With Wonder said, we have to question everything. Dig, dig, dig. We owe it to our kids. It's our job to show them how not to be fooled. Absolutely. Amen. And it's getting harder and harder and harder. You know what? I'm going to go back to that website, because there was another quote. There's so many to sift through. I'm hoping that I don't have you like sitting here for a really long time. Well, here, I do want to read this one to you. It's not the one I was thinking of. But here's another quote that is on this site. It says, a U.S. Department of Education implementation of a scientific materialist philosophy studies being cleansed of religious, patriotic, and other features of the bourgeois ideology. Students taught on the basis of Marxian dialectical materialism, internationalism, and general ethics of a new socialist society present obsolete methods of teaching which will be superseded by a scientific pedagogy. The whole basis and organization of capitalist science will be revolutionized. Science will become materialistic, hence truly scientific. God will be banished from the laboratories as well as from the schools. So that is just another one. That's not exactly the one that I was looking for, but I happened to see that one there. Oh, I wish I would have like highlighted some of these. There's so many and they're so long. Here's one about Dewey himself. It says, many of Dewey's educational disciples may be coy or confused, but the master himself is clear enough in his writings about the implications of his philosophy. And again, we're talking about John Dewey here. It excludes God, the soul, and all the props of traditional religion. It excludes the possibility of immutable truth, of fixed natural law, of permanent moral principles. Whether you like it or not, the education bureaucracy has relieved you of all basic decisions about the aims and methods of the schooling in your town. The professors at the center of the system, who have been elected by nobody, control the qualifications of your teachers by fixing them in terms of their own course offerings. And that was written by Albert Lind, Quackery in the Public Schools of Albert Lind. But anyway, I can't find that one, and I don't want to have you sitting here all this time. You can sift through. There's so many good things there, though. Oh, nice to have you back, Elizabeth. Tilly said, we are not religious, but not atheists either, and I totally agree with you on the schools cutting out the families and God morals. Yeah. Elizabeth, they don't want religion in schools, but they can bring politics into schools. Yeah, and that's true. And again, the whole thing is that there is religion in the school. There is the secular humanist religion. And that's something that you can't deny. It is something that was brought in by John Dewey. And another thing that I was actually reading about John Dewey is that he was influenced by like Marxist philosophies and everything. But again, this isn't something that you're going to find at the top of Google about John Dewey. You're going to see all of this, you know, these fantastic things about him. So again, when you find out things like this, know your topic, know the things that you want to, know about the things that you want to research. Fill in with wonder. You're going to check out the website. Good, because there's so much good stuff on there. I could spend the whole hour just reading quotes, but I would probably put you all to sleep. So, Unstoppable Savage. Looks like I have another rabbit hole to jump down into. Yes, there are so many. And can I tell you that the public school rabbit hole is what got me into all of the other rabbit holes. I don't know. It's like my mind just can't stop. I always have things that I want to research. There are literally not enough hours in the day. And I was just thinking to myself earlier today that if I were one of those parents who just kind of didn't care about stuff like this, just wrote it off or just, I don't know, just didn't think about it much. I know that there are people who hear this, but just blow it off, don't think much about it. If I were one of those people, there would be so many other things that I would be blind to now that my eyes have been open to. So I just really thank the whole thing that we started homeschooling. I thank that I read John Taylor Gatto, because while it's sad at times, because I'm finding that a lot of stuff that I thought was true is not, and it makes me sad and depressed. But you know, if I don't want to be blind either. So anyway, what else do we have? Inline Paul said the government schools are training the kids to be good digesters of fake news. Yes, yes. I'm filling with wonder. The amount of rabbit holes are mind-boggling. I know. Unstoppable Savage, I had never heard anything about John Dewey. I think the very first place I actually heard about him, his ulterior motives, was from John Taylor Gatto. You know, thank you, John Taylor Gatto. He was amazing. And again, he's the one that started my whole travel of the thousands of rabbit holes that I am now down. Elizabeth, side note, did you see a Call for an Uprisings video about the new DC comic book about the Second Coming? No, I didn't. It's disgraceful to say the least. I think I might have put it on my watch later list, but I did not get to watch that yet. Yeah, guys, you really check out A Call for an Uprisings channel. I don't have it linked in the description box below, but he's another one that, holy cow. Like at first when I watched his videos, I was like, oh, come on, that can't be true. That can't be true. And then but after a while, you start to see it yourself and you see just the repetition, things being repeated over and over. And after a while, you're just like, oh my gosh, they're right. You have to check it out. Yeah, Tilly, the deeper that you get into the rabbit holes, the more scary it gets. Yeah, and you know what? It can be a lonely place because most people are not willing to go there. That's why I'm so thankful to have all of you here with me. I've got so many open-minded people here with me, and I appreciate all of you so much because it can be a lonely place. You know, people, they just like to be in their comfort zones. They don't want to be shaken up. They don't want their realities, what their perception of reality is, altered in any way. But so when you are that person who is always looking into rabbit holes, yeah, that's a major part of why it can, yeah, there are depressing things that you find out and everything. But, you know, truth is truth. And that is something, you know, as Christians, especially everyone, not just Christians, everyone, we should all be deeply invested in the truth. And if we're denying the truth, if we're denying to look in the truth just because we want to be comfortable, I think we really need to take a look at ourselves. Let me see. Kara Sue said, I believe there's a mystical side to Christianity. That's something I really wanted my future children to realize. Sadly, the mystical side to the faith has been long forgotten. Yeah, I see someone asked what you're talking about. I'd like to see that. It's a Merry Life. I'm guessing this isn't really a discussion about religion. Well, it's a Merry Life. This kind of morphed into this discussion. I find that happened in lots of my videos. I did start talking about the religion of the schools. Secular humanism is the religion of the schools. Scientism is starting to be the religion of the schools. Just the fact that God is being replaced with the worship of science. And again, I am not saying that to mean that like science is something you should avoid and science is bad. No, science is good. Science is awesome. It's when you get to the point where you refuse to believe that certain scientific theories or certain scientific premises can possibly be misproven someday. You know, they're just basically teaching kids that the science is settled on all sorts of things. And if kids argue with it, if there are kids there who argue with it, they're being pushed to the side, they're given bad grades. And so a lot of the things that kids are being taught in school today, you know, like evolution and like a lot of the other tenets of the secular humanist mindset, they have to be taken on faith too. And again, I don't know if you were here earlier, but secular humanism is a religion. In the 1960s, they went to the Supreme Court because they obtained the right to call themselves a religion for tax-exempt purposes. Yet that is exactly what is in the schools today. John Dewey, the father of common schooling, was a signer of the Communist Manifesto, and he was not shy about the fact that he wanted to bring this into the schools. He wanted this to replace the church and family in the schools. He wasn't shy about it. Now, if you go online nowadays and try to see this, that they're not going to have that right at the top. They don't want people to know that. But in his day and age, I don't know if it's that people weren't paying attention. I don't know, but he was not shy about saying it. Let me see. Let me go back. Karasu the Dreamer, I'm very distrustful of news sources on both the left and the right. Yes, yes, amen, amen. I don't even watch mainstream news anymore. I prefer to look just at alternative news sources because I've seen way too many videos of news of mainstream media on both sides, supposedly on both sides of the aisle, all saying the exact same script. I think I've talked about this with you guys before. They do. There are videos where there are just dozens of newscasters. They're all saying the same thing in unison because they all use the same script. The whole thing is an illusion. And yeah, I follow alternative news sources now, mainly. Unstoppable Savage, the more you dig, the more you find God. Yes. Amen. Amen. Jamie Shaw, once I read that sometime in the 1950s, the Communist Party wrote their agenda to change America, and I saw that one of their goals was public education, and I made sure that my kids would not attend. Well, yes, that is exactly right. And I was actually, I wish I could remember what channel it was. But there was an interview where a guy who used to be in the KGB, I think, and he was basically talking about the things, how they wanted to infiltrate America and the things that they would do to get us with our infighting and things that they would like for us to, just for like to kind of break down our system. Now, I am not going to just blame Russia for this. I think that it goes far beyond any one particular country, but it was scary because interestingly, the interview that I watched was recorded in 1984 of all years, because that book and its implications. And so this interview was recorded in 1984. And as he was being interviewed, the stuff that he was talking about was not going on then, but it is going on now. And as you sit there listening to it, I was sitting there and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, should I share this? Because I'm just at the point, you have to be afraid to share things because people get mad at you. And yeah, and I don't know. It just gets tiring having to worry about stuff like that. Let's see. Oh, you meant your section. That's okay, Jamie. Inline Paul, for good science, visit creation.com. Thank you. I really like Apologia's biology textbook. They have an excellent section on, because the thing is that they tackle both creation and evolution. They tackle both aspects of it. And I found the entire section on that really, really interesting. And that's actually how I found out about Ernst Haeckel's drawings. That's also how I found out about the Piltdown Man, another evolutionary hoax, and Java Man, another evolutionary hoax. And there's like tons of them. And, they don't teach that stuff in schools. Let me see. It's Mary Life. I completely agree. You don't have to explain your perspective. I get it completely. It's something that comes out of my own mouth. I wish that I could meet some of you people in real life because we would have such awesome conversations. I don't have anyone to talk to. Let me see. Although I did just find out that my niece, she's only like 5.5 years younger than I am. She actually has a lot of views that I do, and I don't get to talk to her much, but I did like a couple days ago, and I found out, and I was like, anytime that you get in that mood, just give me a call and we'll talk. You need to have someone to talk to. Let me see. Yes, evolution takes faith. There's no real evidence to support evolution. Let's see. William Malis, is that how you say it? Just got his associate's degree at 11 years old. He said, I want to be an astrophysicist. I want to prove to the world that God does exist through science. Oh, that is amazing. Wow. Contemplative Christian. Oh, that's interesting. I would love to have a conversation with you sometime. I was talking to Karis the Dreamer, sorry. The stay-at-home mom. I really need to go down the hole. I just know after 10 years teaching, it's just sad. I know. And that's why I'm always so careful to point out that, these criticisms that I have towards school, it's never brought about like out of hatred for teachers. I think that a lot of people get that impression from me that I don't like teachers. And if anything, I am behind you 100% because I know a lot of teachers. I know a lot of retired teachers, and I know what my kids' teachers went through when I was in school. Several times I've talked about when my 17-year-old daughter, back when she was in like second grade, there was a boy in her class who would literally beat up the teacher every day. And he would just wreak havoc. The school would have to get shut down, at least not the school. The school would have to get locked down at least once a week for this little 7-year-old boy. And my daughter's poor teacher was like really young, like in her 20s yet, and she's having to go through this stuff. So I was constantly like sending her cards of encouragement and everything. So I am there to support teachers 100%. Again, I always have to tell everyone, it is the system. Everyone is trapped in the system. Let me see. Elizabeth, Kent Hovind is really good at proving through science that God is real and debunks evolution. Even if you don't agree, it's something to look into to gather your own thoughts. Yeah, I love to listen to him talk. He makes a lot of sense. Yes, Tilly P. Aren't the news companies mostly owned by the same people? Yeah. Yes, they are. That's why it's like they say, oh, well, you know, this news organization is against this new one. They're all owned by the same people. It's all just, it's an illusion. They tell us what they think we want to hear. Yeah, Unstoppable Savage, something like 6 corporations. They do. They pretty much own everything. Elizabeth, if anyone truly does want to go down the rabbit hole, like she said, please watch A Call for an Uprising. Yes, it's a great place to start. So happy to find a homeschool mom who knows the truth. And you know, the thing is, the sad part about it is that, like, I've had my blog. I originally started it in 2014, I think, and I only did it for a few months, and then I stopped, and then I started blogging again in 2016. And for the longest time, I was afraid to talk about this stuff because, you know, it's all about, we want to be accepted, you know, but it gets to the point where you have to decide, is it more important how people feel about you? Is it more important how much people like you? Or is it more important that you will tell people the truth? And of course, always speak the truth in love all the time. But I think that it really has to come down to that. Are you going to please others, or are you going to please God and get the truth out there? And so that's the point that I had to get to. But I still do have that issue sometimes. I want people to like me, you know? So it's a struggle sometimes. Let me see. It's Merry Life. Sadly, I don't watch much news anymore at all. I just don't see the point. It's too hard to know what part of what you're hearing is true. Yes, that I don't watch it anymore either. Like I said, just alternative news stations once in a while, but not very often. It's a Merry Life. Got to share the gospel when I can. Yep. And to teach my kids to love and serve him wholeheartedly. That's right. Amen. Jamie Shaw, do you or anyone have recommendations on books that can reprogram me from the years of lies I was taught in public school and college? John Taylor Gatto. Jamie, have you ever read anything by John Taylor Gatto? If you have not, read Weapons of Mass Instruction, A School Teacher's Dark Guide. What is it? A School Teacher's Journey Through through something of compulsory schooling. I forget, but it's basically called Weapons of Mass Instruction by John Taylor Gatto. Also, his book, The Hidden Curriculum. And if you are really, really wanting to dig deep and have something like a phone book size book to read, John Taylor Gatto's book, The Underground History of American Education. That is like, wow. It is a long time to go through it, but it is packed with information. Edna Jackson, I am an intercity homeschooling mom, started in 1995. It's more important to please God. Yes, it is. Yep, Tilly just said the same thing that I said. Well, you probably said it before I did. Anything by John Taylor Gatto. There are a lot of great videos of him on YouTube too. Also, yeah, Charlotte Iserbyt. She worked for the U.S. Department of Education and exposed a lot. She did. She worked for the Department of Education under Reagan. And she is another excellent one to watch because she's not afraid to tell you like it is either. And she knows the purposes of the things that they do. She knows the purpose, even like charter schools. I know a lot of people will look at charter schools as being a better alternative, you know, to public schools. And Charlotte Iserbyt is even like, no, she's like, charter schools are even worse. So it was interesting, you know, to see her mindset about that too. Elizabeth, everyone teaches love, love, love. And yes, you preach in love, but if you really love someone, you tell them the truth. And that's right. And that's what I've got to just... I've got to stop being afraid. And I haven't been. I've been doing it, but you know, you don't know how many times I'm like confiding in all of you. You don't know how many times I have like scheduled a video to be published the next morning. And like the whole night I tossed and turned just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to wake up to the comments. I'm afraid to wake up and see that, you know, I've lost 100 subscribers, you know, and, you know, that's stuff that I worry about. And a couple times I was even tempted to just, you know, cancel the video, like don't even publish it. So it's hard. But I'm learning, and I'm seeing so many people who are stepping out and speaking the truth now, and it's an encouragement. It's like there is this great truth movement going on right now, and I love it. It gives me so much encouragement. Anyway, It's a merry life. The people who have made a difference in the world have historically had as many enemies as allies. Yes, you're right. Karis to the Dreamer. I'm even careful of the alternative news sites on both the left and the right. Yeah, you really have to be. You have to be careful with everything. It's so hard. It's like, how are you ever gonna know? Wow, what a sad discussion. Let me see. Jamie Shaw, that's why I love your channel. You always speak the truth. Thank you. Edna Jackson, doing great. You've inspired me at 55 years old. Thank you so much. That is an encouragement to me because, yeah, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I'm afraid to publish so many of the videos because I'm like, oh, people are not going to like this. And you know, I have so many other things that I would like to make videos about that I have been holding back on just for that very reason. I think that I have to kind of do baby steps. You know, it's like baby steps for me. Work my way up to like the really big things. Allie Williams, she has some amazing videos. After this live, go watch her others. Who is Allie Williams? I've never heard of her. That's interesting. Is she like, is she about education, or I have no idea. The audience, you won't lose my subscription. Thank you. And you know what, that's like, it shouldn't even matter, but you know, if I don't have any subscribers, who's gonna listen to me? So that's why that always bothers me. Let's see. You're very encouraging. Thank you so much. Jess, I'm contemplating taking my son, 6th grader, out to homeschool, but I'm really nervous. Your videos are so helpful. You can do it. You absolutely 100% can do it, and it's really, I honestly believe that it's the best thing that you can do for your child. And I'm going to just jump in. I don't know if you've seen the recent videos that I've done. Don't jump right in and start buying curriculum right away. Take the time to just watch how your child learns and just see how they like to do things and what they're interested in, because I'm speaking from experience. I did that and I regretted it instantly. So if you're going to take your child out of school, take the time to just watch and see how they're learning and what they want to learn about before you spend all that money on curriculum. Let's see. Please don't hold back. My daughter, new mom who plans to homeschool, 2nd generation homeschooler. Oh, okay. It's a merry life. You won't regret it. It'll be hard at times, but the payoff makes it so worth it. Yes, absolutely. I agree. You know, I think that a lot of times we're afraid to tell people that homeschooling is not always like these hills. There are hills and valleys of everything. You're going to have bad days in homeschooling. You know, there are going to be days when your kids don't want to listen to you. There are going to be days that they might cry through a lesson. There might be days that you cry through a lesson. But the fact is that it's something that you're doing for your children. It's going to bring you closer together. And once you find your groove, things get so much easier. And I think that no matter what, you know, they are infinitely better than if they were in school. Infinitely better. Homeschool Mama of 11, Indoctrination, Public Schools, and the Decline of Christianity in America. A good movie to watch. Yes, that is a good. Also, that by the same makers of Indoctrination, they also came out with a movie called Escaping Common Core. If you want to find out about Common Core, that's a great movie to watch also. Elizabeth, I've cried a couple times in the beginning. Everybody has. Even if they don't tell you, they have. Everybody is like wanted to hide in a closet with chocolate, and the only reason I haven't is because I don't have a closet big enough for me to hide in. But we've all been to the point where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, but you can do it. You can and you will. Corey, best to run out and buy everything right away when you start homeschooling. Yes, I did. Oh, I did that. It was so bad. Unstoppable Savage, I'm a brand new homeschooler, just started the Christmas break. I don't know if I would have had the courage without your videos. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to hear that. You guys are such an encouragement to me. Tracy Lynn, so far all my grown children plan to homeschool. Yay! That's how we know that you did a wonderful job. Let's see. Let me see. It's a merry life. Alyssa, your tears are mixed with all the rest of ours, mine included. Yes. Yes. Got some truth going on. This is truth too, right here where we're talking about. This is homeschool truth. Also, Elizabeth, also someone was saying something about the news, which is on TV, and I'd like to say that it's called TV programming. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Just like even, and this is like has nothing to do with TV, but like looking at the wording and everything, it reminded me of, I was looking at something and it said the word government. Like if you look at like the root words that it comes from and what the meaning of those root words are, the word government literally means to guide the mind. And I was just like, I was shocked the first time. I was like, oh my gosh. But anyway, thank you, Erica. Yeah, Elizabeth. Yes, that's what it means. Government. I wish I could remember like the root words, but they had it broken down into govern and meant. And it was the root word for each. And the root word for govern means guide, and meant means mind. You know, like Mensa, like for the people with high IQs, that also comes from the same root word. So government means to guide the mind. There you go. So, yeah, you do. You learn something new every day. But anyway, I think that I am going to have to end the live stream today, as much as I hate to, because I have to get up at 4 and I'm not going to be a happy camper. But I see another comment, so I'm just going to answer that quick. I've been watching you for a few months now, and I have changed my whole way of thinking about homeschooling. Oh, I'm so glad. You guys, I really look forward to just reading your comments and answering you, even though it takes a while. I really look forward to these live streams. Wish I could do them more often. Maybe once like summertime sets in and I'm not doing school with the kids, maybe then I'll be able to go back to a weekly thing. But anyway, I just wanted to say good night, and I'm so glad that you guys were here, and I really missed this, and I'm glad that we were able to start back up. Thank you guys, and you are all a blessing too. Have a great night.